Hello there. In this video I'm going to be talking about how to tackle the unseen part of IGCSE World Literature, or indeed any other unseen type exam that you may have come across. Unseen typically is seen as one of the scarier parts of any assessment. Just because it's unseen, you can't know what's going to be coming up. It's a bit of a lucky dip. It's also seen sometimes as the kind of thing you can't really revise for because you don't know what's coming up. I would suggest that's very wrong. There are lots of good reasons to revise. Essentially, if you're running a marathon and you don't know the route, you've still got to practice to be able to get the stamina and get the skills and the preparation needed to run 26 miles, wherever it is. Okay, enough dodgy metaphors. Let's move on. Unseen, this video is a brief overview of what unseen is and the skills that you need, and in other videos I'll look at some examples of past papers and how to answer them. Okay, for paper 2, component 2, you need to choose one unseen text. You're going to have two choices in the exam. One will be from a novel, which is called prose type writing, and the other will be a poem. The exam itself is 1 hour 15 minutes, not super long, and it's worth 25% of your total score for world literature. So in the exam, this is a rough breakdown of how much time you should spend on each section. I would suggest the first 15 or 20 minutes you choose whether it's going to be prose or poetry that you will do. You then spend time reading the text carefully, annotating, thinking about it, looking at the guiding questions, and basically planning your answer. After about 20 minutes you need to start writing, so you should spend 50-55 minutes actually writing the answer and going through it. And then at the end, hopefully you've got about 5 minutes which should be spent proofreading, editing, checking everything makes sense, and that everything is clear and you've said everything you want to say. So it's a rough breakdown of the time scale. Next to each of the text there's going to be some information. These are called guiding questions. Generally it will give you some background about the poem or the prose. If the question says, how does the writer create sympathy for this character, then obviously there's a clue in the question that the text is, or the character is supposed to be seen sympathetically. So that gives you a little bit of early focus. So read the questions carefully. You don't have to specifically answer each point, but they will help your reading of the text, and you should attempt to answer the main question. So basically the skills here are all about thinking on your feet, even though you're sitting down for the exam. How quickly can you analyze something you haven't seen before? How well can you react to something? This is not a memory test. This is higher level thinking skills. Can you analyze? Can you say how you feel? And can you justify how you feel about a piece of writing? The mark scheme in particular looks to reward students who give a personal response, not something that's too formulaic. You need well-selected references all the way through. Say what you think, justify it. The kind of either PL structure or PQA, whatever you've been taught, use that. And also show clear critical analysis and understanding of the aims. And if there's any deeper meaning, any themes, try and get into those. Certainly A-star students would need to be doing all of those things. Okay, first job is to decide whether to write prose or poetry, or write about them. In my experience, most students tend to go for the poem just because it's shorter. But I would suggest it's worth being comfortable with both. The advantage of prose is that generally it's more accessible. Poems can seem a bit of a puzzle sometimes. You have to uncode or decode. Prose tends to be much more straightforward. So essentially the main thing is be flexible. So you've got a choice. You're not limited to the only thing you revised when you do the exam. Okay, so we're going to look at some poems and some prose in future videos. Bear in mind, if you've done IGCSE World Literature, you've already got a lot of the skills that you need. You've probably studied poetry at some point during the course. You almost certainly will have studied some prose as well. So all those skills that you learned there, they can be used here just as well. So it's not a completely new thing that we're doing here. So a few general tips here and some help. Obviously reading a lot. The more you read, the more you understand writing. If you stop and think about it, read things that are slightly challenging for you, but not too difficult, and think about the effect that they have on you when you're reading something. If it's funny or it's sad, how has the writer actually created that? What words stand out? Knowing technical terms is not everything. You can't pass an exam just by identifying metaphors and assonance and things like this, but it does help keep your writing succinct and show the examiner you've got good control over language. The thing to remember here is there's not necessarily one correct answer. Like I said, it's very different from other exams that you will do. Generally, if you respond well to a text and if you justify what you're claiming, usually you'll be rewarded. Certainly examiners are looking to reward students by giving points rather than take them away. So bear that in mind. If you don't understand a word in the text, move on or try and work it out from the context. Guessing is not really the place. It's not really the time to start guessing in the middle of an exam. Sometimes there are footnotes for the trickier words, so have a look out for them. And lastly, plan, and then plan some more. You have about 15-20 minutes at the start of the exam. Really annotate carefully. We'll look at this in future videos, how to annotate. When you annotate, make sure it's clear why you're doing it, and then when you come back to write, it should all make sense and you can glue it together. Okay. Alright, so in future videos, I'll pick out some past papers and some examples, and we'll go through how to put an answer together. Okay, thanks very much.